Hello, everybody. Tomorrow on Tuesday, we are taking a test on solving systems of linear equations. So hopefully you all have the TI Nspire on your laptop, which makes solving these much, much easier. If you do not have that software on your laptop, it's going to be much more difficult for you tomorrow, which means you're going to have to solve a whole bunch of equations for y equals so you can put them into your Desmos calculator and look to see where they intersect. So hopefully you have got the Nspire on your calculator, and if you do not know how, you need to be emailing me and letting me know that so I can help you get it on there. Okay, so here we go. The test tomorrow will be like normal, where you go on and there will be a link on tomorrow's assignment, whatever the date is, and it'll say click here for the test and you go take it. Now, normally I say get on the Zoom meeting so that if something's going wrong or your laptop's not working or the software's not working or something's going on, you can at least let me know that by talking to me on the Zoom meeting. Tomorrow we are doing STAR testing for kids who failed them in past years. So I will be administering one of those tests, so I will be unavailable most of the day. Around 7th and 8th period, I should be back on, and I will have Zoom meetings open then in case you want to jump on and let me know if you're having trouble with something. Maybe the link's not working or whatever. And also, after school, 4:15, 4:20, you can also jump on. I'll keep it open. The test will be open all day long, so just jump on whenever you can and take it. Use your notes and resources and all that stuff. Use your Nspire calculator. So one of the questions, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but if they ask you or give you a picture like this and they have a bunch of words and things with it, maybe a description of what's going on, one of the things they may ask you is, where are they the same? Now, where they are the same is where they intersect. So literally that point where they intersect, they both have the exact same x number at that point, and they both have the exact same y number at that point. So whenever they ask you for where they are the same, you're looking for the intersection point. And on this case, they might ask you, well, where they are the same, what is the number of months that has happened? And so you would go pick out the months and make sure you read the labels. If we're looking for months, use these numbers. Don't use those numbers. Likewise, if they ask you for the money where they are the same, you're going to come over here to the money number. So if they ask you for money, make sure you're using these numbers and not those numbers. So read the labels, in other words, okay? All right, so I just wanted to point that out to you in case you get one like that. Now, in our past, we have talked about linear equations. This is old stuff. If they ask you for a zero, do you remember what the vocab word is for zero? What are we looking for? I can hear your brains are whirling, thinking. There was some particular point that had three different names. A zero, a solution, and an x-intercept are all the same thing. So if they're asking you for a zero, they're simply asking you where's the x-intercept. And of course the x-intercept is where is this line crossing my x-axis. If you follow the x-axis to where they intersect, that one point right there, that one point is your x-intercept. Okay, this line is the x-axis. This is the x-intercept, that one point where our graph crosses the x-axis. Likewise, the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis, which is right there. But since we're looking for a zero, that's the x-intercept, so that would be -1, -2, -3, -4. -4 is the x-intercept. -4 is the zero. So I just want to remind you, zeros and x-intercepts are the same thing. So hopefully you remember that. It's also on your posters. So again, if there's any of this old stuff on the test, look at your posters for Unit 3 under Resources, and you can look at those posters and see that. All right, just want to remind you some of those things. Okay, so this first question on today's review. Now, on any of these, you want to pause the video and go work ahead, feel free to do that. All right, and then come back and check your answers. What is the solution to the systems of equations? Of course, a system means you have more than one equation. This year, we're limiting it to 2 only. So how do we solve the systems of equations? Well, they're both in y equals format, so you could put them in the graphing calculator and literally go look at the picture and see where they intersect. Or the even easier way is to go to the LenSolve screen. Remember, go to your home key, go to the add subtract icon, menu 3.2, because we're in an algebra class and we're looking for the linear solving systems of equations, and that's the second one. So menu 3.2 is where you wind up going. And then once you're there, you make sure it says 2 equations, hit OK, and then type in the 2 equations and hit enter, and boom, there's your answer. They tell you where they intersect. So just put those 2 equations in your calculator, go hit enter, and see where they intersect using LenSolve. You could also, like I said, go put them in the graphing calculator, but then you've got to count all the lines and do all that stuff and to see how many over and how many up or down you are. So I would use LenSolve when you're doing that and make sure you get it right. Number one, if you do that one right in LenSolve, if you haven't done it, go do it. Hit pause, go do it. Okay, so hopefully you've hit pause and you've already gone and done it and you found the answer. The answer on this one was -8, -17. And again, if you just type those two equations in under LinSolve and hit enter, you get the answer. You don't have to solve anything. All right, same thing for number 2. We're solving the systems of equations. Just type the two equations into LinSolve. Go to the graph icon, or not the graph icon, I'm sorry. You went to the home screen, you clicked on the add subtract icon, and you did menu 3-2, and then typed in the two equations in the boxes there, and then hit enter. This time, it told you there are no solutions, and that makes sense because both of these have a slope of 5. If the slopes are the same, that means the two lines are parallel. And if I have two parallel lines, either they are on top of each other, in which case there's infinite solutions, or if they're parallel, it's no solutions. The slopes were the same, but they had two different y-intercepts, so they were parallel lines, not on top of each other. So that's why it gave us the answer, no solution. Okay, let's look at number 3. Same thing. Solve the systems of equations. There's two equations. They are not in y equals format, so unless you want to go solve both of these for y and then put them in and look at the picture and see where they intersect, or if they're parallel, or if they're on top of each other, that's one way to do it. But the easier way is to use LinSolve, which means you go to that LinSolve screen and just type the two equations in just like they are and hit enter, and boom, there's the answer. So again, you want this TI Nspire software on your laptop so you can use it. We want to get used to using it before the STAR test in May, because that's the same software you're going to use in May. So we need you doing that. So hit pause if you need to, go do that one, and then check your answer. These are easy peasy questions on the STAR test using LinSolve. And I think the answer on this one, I don't think I actually did that one, because I know y'all were just going to type those in and go hit enter. Okay, number 4. This is where we're going to write the systems of equations. A jar containing only nickels and dimes. I hope you remember how much a nickel is worth and what a dime is worth as a decimal. Contains a total of 60 coins. The value of all the coins in the jar is $4.45. I'm not going to have you solve by elimination. You can solve it any way you want to, which is just write the equations and then go put them in the Nspire calculator. So solve to find the number of nickels and dimes that are in the jar. So I'm looking for the number of nickels and the number of dimes. I'm looking for two different things, so there are two variables. Now, you might decide to let the x be the nickels and the y the dimes, or you might make the y the nickels and the x the dimes. Does not matter which way you do it, just make a note of it. So on your paper, literally write either an x next to the nickel or a y. But one needs to have an x and one needs to have a y. And if you don't write that down, you're not going to go which is which in the final answer. Okay, so a nickel, how much is a nickel worth? Hopefully you know it is 0.05. And what is the letter that goes with the nickel? We made it x. So there's my money for the nickels, 0.05 times however many nickels I have. The dimes, on the other hand, how much are they worth? Yes, it's 10 cents, 0.10. And what was my letter for the dimes? The y. So 0.10y. 10 cents times however many dimes I have is my dime money. And when we add these two amounts of money together, it equals the total. And what was my total? $4.45. So one equation is literally 0.05x, there's the nickel money, plus my dime money, equals $4.45. So 4.45. There is one equation. Now the second one had to do with the number of coins. This is not money, this is just the number of coins if I'm counting the coins. So x is the number of nickels. Y is the number of dimes. If I take my number of nickels, however many they are, and add to them however many dimes I have, how many coins do I have total? 60. Because x is how many nickels I have and y is how many dimes I have. So if I add the numbers together, I equal 60 coins. So there is my systems of equations. All I got to do is put them in the calculator, LinSolve, type them in just like that. Make sure you type in 0.05x and 0.1 or 0.10y. And make sure you don't forget the x's and y's when you type them in, because sometimes we forget that when we're typing. So double check that you type them in correctly, then hit enter. And then you just pick out the answer. Now, we said the x's were the nickels. So in your answer, whatever the first number was in the ordered pair is your nickel number. So you need to pick out, was that first number a 29? Was it a 28? Was it a 30? Or was it a 31? Because they will put them in both orders as the answer choices to choose from, so make sure you know which is which. And then you're going to go put in, or actually, we've already got the answer. The dimes are the second number, because the y's are the dimes. So first number in the ordered pair is your x, your nickels, and the second number in the ordered pair is your y, your dimes. And then you're just picking out the right answer that matches that. So just be very careful about making sure that you pick out the right answer that matches the point that you have. Okay, let's see. Number 5. An ice skating arena charges an admission fee, for each child plus a rental fee for each pair of skates. Okay, so everybody walking in, you have a child is a certain rental fee and then a rental fee for the number of skates. John paid the admission fees for his 6 nephews. Okay, so 6 kids came in and rented 5 pairs of ice skates. So one of them didn't skate, he just did other stuff while he was there. So 6 kids came in and 5 pairs of skates. He was charged $32. Juanita paid the admission fees for her 7 grandkids, so 7 kids, and rented 5 pairs of skates. So 2 of her kids didn't do anything else. They went and did other things, but 5 of them skated. So they want to know, she was charged $35.25. What is the admission fee? So there's one of my variables is I'm looking for the admission fee. How much does it cost to get in the door? And what is the rental fee for a pair of skates? So there's the second one. And again, you can make either one of these be your X or your Y because I'm looking for 2 different things. So if you want to, you can let X be the first one or you could let this one be Y. It does not matter as long as you know admission is your X. You could have said the admission is Y. The rental fee is going to be my Y then since I made the other one the X. So one of these is going to be X and one of them is going to be Y. Again, it doesn't matter which one you pick. Now we got to write 2 equations so we can go figure out what the rental fee and the admission fee is. So we had 2 different money amounts here. So we can make one equation out of each money amount. I've got the equation, the money amount for John, so that's going to equal 32. And I have another one for Juanita, and that one was 35.25. So I'm going to have 2 different equations. I'm going to write this down, then I'll move it over so you can see it. Okay, so John was $32 even, and Juanita was 35.25. So John's equation is going to equal 32, and Juanita's equation is going to equal 35.25. Okay, now, John, how many people did he pay admission for? He had 6 admissions, and admissions is my X. So 6 times X, however much the admission fee is, right? So this is going to be 6 times X. He paid for 6 people, and X is how much each person costs. So 6 times X is the money he paid for them to get in the door. And then how many pairs of skates did he do? 5 pairs of skates. So 5 times Y, because Y is the fee for the skates, plus 5Y. All right, so 6 kids entered with the price of admission, 5 kids rented skates with the price of skates. Add them all together, and you get $32 is what he was charged. Same thing now for Juanita. How many people did she do for admission fees? She paid 7 admission fees. So 7 goes with the X, because that's the letter that we use for the X. Now, if you used a Y, then you're going to use the Y there. And then the rental fee, how many skates did she rent? She rented 5 skates. So that's plus, add to that her 5 kids that rented 5 skates. Okay? 7 admission fees, 5 skates, add them all together. She paid $35.25. Now that you have the 2 equations, can you simply type them into LinSolve and hit enter? Yes, and that point where they intersect, that X comma Y, when you type these in, they're going to give you a point, X comma Y. Whatever the X number is where they intersect is the admission fee. Whatever the Y number is where they intersect is my rental fee for a pair of skates. So that's how you can do it. Now, if you had switched them up here, then you would have, the numbers would be backwards and it would still work out fine. All right, and then you just got to be careful about picking out the right answer because see how these are really all jumbled together and they have very similar answers and stuff. So look very carefully on picking out the right answer. Okay. At a college bookstore, Carla purchased a math textbook and a novel that cost a total of $54. So she bought 2 books and they totaled $54. So if you add the 2 books together, it equals $54. If the price of the math textbook M is 8 more than 3 times the price of the novel, I'm thinking that's going to be my second equation. Which system of equations could be used to determine the price of each book? So I don't actually need to find the price of the book. They just want me to pick out the 2 equations that match the situation. Well, to begin with, they used M for the math textbook, and they used N for the novel. So and M is the price, and this is the price of the math textbook. So M is the price of the math book. So this is the price of the math book. If I add to that the price of the novel, I said N is the price of the novel, how much did I pay for both books? You paid $54 total. So one equation should say, if I add these 2 together, it should equal 54. So let's go see if they do that. M plus N equals not 54, so cross that one off. It is not right. M plus N equals, nope, still not the right number. They didn't pay $8 for both books. M plus N equals 54. Yep, we're going to keep that one. M plus N equals 54. Yep, we'll keep that one. So I've got 2 possible answers from the first equation. Now, the second one. If the price of the math book M is, remember is your equal sign, so this is literally M equals. So I'm going to write M equals. M equals 8 more. 8 more is adding, so this is 8 plus 3 times. There's my 3. There's my dot for times, right? I'm literally just writing down the math symbols that go with this. M equals 8 plus 3 times. And what's it timing? The price of the novel. And the novel is N. So this is 3 times N. Now, when you write 3 dot N, you just leave the dot off. It's just 3N. Now, it did say more than. Now, remember, on less than, we have to flip it. And we could flip it. Does it really matter, though, on addition if I flip it or not? So I can, on these two numbers on either side of that plus sign, I just flipped it. I put the 3 in front and the 8 in back. Does it order matter on addition? It doesn't. So it really doesn't matter which way you do this. Either of these would be correct. 8 plus 3n or 3n plus 8. So let's see which one has that. M equals 3n plus 8. Yep, because it was a more. 3n minus 8. We weren't subtracting. They didn't say less. So H was the correct answer on that one. So use the words and write the math symbols that go with them. Perimeter of a rectangular wooden deck. Hopefully by now you know how to find perimeter. Perimeter is add up all the sides, and a rectangle has 4 sides. So you want to add up all 4 sides, and it is 90, so it equals 90. So when I add up all my sides, it's going to equal 90. Now, they used L for the length, and they used W for the width. So the deck's length L is 5 feet less than 4 times the width. I'm thinking that's my second equation. Which system can you use to determine the dimensions of the length and width of the wooden deck? So this equals 90. That's my perimeter. How do you find perimeter? L plus W plus W. I need all 4 of them added together. So you could do L plus W plus W. All right. Did any of them do that? No. What version did they use? They said 1L plus 1L is 2L. 1W plus 1W is 2W. So if I take 2 of my lengths and 2 of my widths and add them together, it will also equal 90. So same thing, same equation. So this is the equation that they use, but these are both perimeter equations. So 2L plus 2W equals 90. Yep. 2L plus 2W equals 90. 2L plus 2W equals 90. So the perimeter one didn't rule anything off. But it's sometimes nice to know that you remember how to do it. And you could have also looked at the answers to begin with and said, oh, they're all the same. Let's look at the second equation. The deck's length L is. What math symbol is? We just talked about it. What symbol does it? It's your equal sign. So L equals. So my second equation goes L equals 5 feet less. So here's my 5. That's the number. I'm not going to use the units in there. Just 5 less, and less is subtraction. 5 feet less than 4 times. So 4 dot. The width, and width is W. So there's my W. Okay. So L is 5 feet less than 4 times the width. However, it didn't just say less, it said less than. So as soon as you see that than, after you write it down, what do you need to do around the subtraction sign? Whatever was behind it goes in front, whatever was in front goes behind. We're going to switch the order. So this is actually 4W minus 5. This is 5 less than the 4W. So we're looking for that. 4 equals 4W minus 5. L equals, nope, not that one. L equals 5W? No, they didn't have a 5W, it was a 4W. L equals 4 minus 5W? No, not that one. 4W minus 5? Yep, that's it down here. So they'll do it in all sorts of variety of ways, so just make sure that you're checking very carefully on the answers to match what you wrote down. Okay, let's see what else we have. Now these are interesting because we have not done some of these yet, but we are today. Which graph represents the solution to the system of equations? So they give me 4 graphs to pick from, and here's my systems of equations. So you could just go graph this in the calculator and see which picture matches it. But in order to graph them with a graph, we have to have the equations in y equals, which means I have to solve both of those for y and not make a mistake. So rather than doing that, one way to do it is go ahead and go to LinSolve and just see where they intersect. And they intersect at the point -3, -2. So notice that it's a negative and a negative. So let's think about where a negative is on in a coordinate plane. So here's my coordinate plane. If I start at 0 and I go right positive and up positive, I'm in a positive. Any point over here in this quadrant will be positive. If it's anywhere in this quadrant, it would be negative number and then a positive number, so negative positive. If the intersection is anywhere over here, I would go positive number and then negative number. If it's anywhere in this quadrant, I would go left negative and down negative. So this point right here in this graph is a negative answer. Okay, I'm not even going to worry about what the numbers are, but it's negative and then negative. Okay, this one over here is a positive and then negative. So this one is positive, comma, negative. I'm going to put positive, comma, negative, positive, comma, negative. Okay, so there's that one's a positive, negative answer. This one is a positive, negative answer. So positive and negative. I go right and then down to get to that intersection. This one is I went left and down, so negative, negative. So this is a negative, negative answer. This one's a negative, negative answer. This one is a positive, negative answer. This one is a positive, negative answer. So when I put these in the calculator, I go look to see where they intersect, and it was two negative answers, negative, negative. That means it's either this one or it's this one, but I've ruled off C and I've ruled off B. So it's either negative, negative or negative, negative. Now, this one was at an ugly point. It was between whole numbers, so I don't want to try to figure it out right now, but this one was exactly left 3 and down 2, so it was exactly negative 3, negative 2. Was that the point where this one was? Yes, it was at negative 3, negative 2, so that one matched exactly. I didn't have to try to go figure out what this ugly little decimal is. If you had to, though, it's between negative 1 and negative 2, so it would have been negative 1 point something, and then the vertical number was between negative 1 and negative 2, so it's between negative 2 and negative 3, so it was negative 2.3, or negative 2 point something, because I don't know the exact something, because you're just estimating it. But most of the time you can figure it out just from positive, negative, negative, positive, things like that. So remember how you can get to the different quadrants, checking that. Number 9, it just says find the solution. So where's the solution in the system of equations? It's points that are on both lines. And what's the only point that's on this line and that line? Where they intersect. That point is the solution to the system of equations. That point is on both of those lines, so it solves the system at one time. So from the origin, you went right 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a positive 4. And down 1, 2, 3, 4. So down is negative. Right is positive. Left is negative. Up is positive. Down is negative. So we went positive 4, negative 4. And of course, that's D down here. Okay, one more that I'm going to do with you and then turn you loose. And again, you can stop at any time and keep working these. On this page, which system of equations is graphed below and can be used to find the solution? So again, they're giving you a picture of what the answer looks like, and we want to know which of these systems matches that. So you could put these in the calculator and look at the picture, but in order to look at the picture, you've got to solve them for y, which means solve for y, solve that one for y, solve that one for y, solve that one for y. That's a lot of solving. There's an easier way to do it. If the ordered pair, if this picture was intersecting up here, that means the answer would have been a positive, positive answer. It would have gone right positive and up positive. But we didn't intersect in this quadrant, did we? No. If it had been in this quadrant, if they had intersected up here, it would have been a negative number and then a positive number, but there's no intersection up here, so it's not negative, positive. This one right here is in this quadrant down here, this lower left, which means from the origin you went left and you went down, which is negative and negative. So this answer that we're looking for is going to be a negative, negative answer. Had it been in this quadrant, if they intersected over here, it would have been a positive answer and a negative answer because you went right and then down. But I'm not worried about any of these three quadrants. I am in this quadrant, so I am looking for a negative, negative answer. Negative, negative is what I'm looking for in this quadrant. So I can just put these in LinSolve one at a time. And this one intersected at two positive answers. Is that what I'm looking for? No, cross it off. If I put these two in the calculator, LinSolve, see where they intersect. This intersected at a positive, negative. Is that what I'm looking for? No, cross it off. See, this one, if I put them in the calculator, they intersected at -0, which means I went left, but then I stayed on the origin. So that means I'm right on that line, and I'm not on that line. I'm down here in this quadrant. So I still need a negative, negative. Remember, I'm looking for negative, negative. When you put the fourth one in, yes, they intersect at negative, negative. So D was the correct one on this. Now, I'm going to remind you when you're putting these in the calculator, because some of y'all have not been practicing this much. When you type this in the Inspire calculator, all these negative signs can just be subtraction signs only. If you will use all subtraction signs, it will give it to you correctly. Now, if you're good at putting in the negative key versus the subtraction key and always getting them right, then keep doing that. But if you're unsure about when to use the negative key and when to use subtraction, this is subtraction. And do control divide to get your 5 halves, and you enter the 5, tab down to 2, or not tab, but arrow down to the bottom and put 2, then arrow to the right to get your x in, subtract, control divide again to put in 3 halves. That's your subtract key. That's a subtract key. Every time you see these, subtract. That's a subtract key. Same thing here. Control divide, put in a subtract 2 on top, put in a 5 on bottom, arrow to the right to put in the x, subtract, control divide, put a 6 over 5, and so on. This is subtract, 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 subtract. You can use subtraction for every one of those, and it will work and give you the right answer. Okay? All right, and this last one, which graph represents the systems? So again, pictures. But in order for me to put these in the calculator and get a picture, they have to be in y equals format, and I've got to solve them. So I might want to just go and see what the intersection is. So if you just put the two equations in and go find the intersection, I don't know if I did that one. I'm leaving this one for you guys. So go see what the intersection is. Is it two positive numbers? Is it a positive and a negative number? So this would be positive right, upper right would be the upper right quadrant. Positive and negative would be the lower right quadrant. Or is it a negative positive, which means you go left first and up, so that would be that upper left quadrant. And if it was negative comma negative, that puts you in the lower left quadrant. So if it's positive positive, you're up here. If you're positive negative positive, you're over here in this quadrant. If you are negative negative, you're in this quadrant. And if you're positive negative, you're in this quadrant. So you can just simply see what answer you have and match them up. This answer is a positive negative answer. So positive comma negative. When you find this one up here, if it's not positive negative, you cross it off. This one is slightly negative and negative down. So this is a negative negative answer. So this one you're looking for a negative comma negative answer. This one is slightly right and then down. So this is a positive comma negative answer. And this one is a negative and negative. So you have two that are negative negatives, and you have two that are positive negatives. So once you put this in, you're going to know which one you're looking for, one of these two or one of these two. And then just see if you can look at the numbers and figure out which one is closer to the right number. So I'm going to leave that one up to you guys to figure out. If you have questions on it, you can always email me about it. FYI, for those of you that are watching the video, you can stop at number 17. So the last page will be number 17. I know I have problems that go through number 23, but you don't have to do all those unless you just want to for the practice. But 17 is all I'm grading through. So for those of you that actually watch the video, you get to know that you don't have to do as much work. Okay, guys, bye.